can see one of my most favorite comic pictures, and from Carvin and Topps. This is basically the feeling with which I would like to share my thinking on economic planning with you. Very easily said, I will use basically today moral arguments, less economic arguments. And so you can see Carvin enraged. This is the kind of feeling I have when I think about reality today. And the background is this. This is, we are not living in times of climate change or whatever. We are living in times of climate heating. So basically all questions we have posed to ourselves as societies have to change. And I have to admit that I have many more questions than answers. So what I'll do is just basically share problems with you I reflected on during last years of work. You can see here a very nice picture from Greenland, and you can see sand which is coming down from Greenland into the water. And that means Greenland has now a new industry, export of sand. So this is just showing to you the total absurdity of the situation we are living in. And I just two more things and then I can start. I invite you to read at least the introduction of this book, The Hindu Kush Himalaya Assessment, because it's clear, science tells us that 2 billion people are under immediate danger of losing their access to water. And where are these 2 billion people situated? They are situated mostly in this Hindu-Kush Himalaya, and as you can see on the right side, this is 50% of the people, humanity are living inside this circle. This process is currently underway. So what does this mean for any kind of social stability? And that's basically the background, okay? This is incredible urgency we are living in. Just as it was said before the break, 10 years, well, basically it's now or never. So, and as you can see here, climate change with the planetary boundaries, climate change is on the top level there. This is not even the worst part. Yeah, and I was just talking only about CO2 emissions. They have planetary boundaries. We have crossed far more than CO2. So we can see we need to act right now. Market is not delivering, so what can we do? So now let's look at, from my perspective, the debate on economic planning, which is going on right now. So I have three discourses, so to say, isolated. These discourses are what I have come across in the last years, based here in Brussels, working for left organizations in Europe. When we talk about, for example, industrial policy, which is part of my background. First, we have the good old technocratic planning. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's just a fact. It's the macroeconomic level, fiscal, monetary, social policy on national and EU level. So it's absolutely clear there won't be any change without having this. Okay, that's totally clear. But the point is, we are living not only in times of planetary boundaries, but also in a post-democratic area. So people do not trust any longer only technocrats, even if they are working in favor of the people. So necessary, but absolutely not sufficient. The next one is what I would call fully automatic digital planning. I recommend to you to read this wonderful book, The People's Republic of Walmart. I hope you can see it here. It's a wonderful book, and it's a very good defense of this. So basically, it's a kind of update of what Allende did. in his short time of democratic socialism. And the whole idea is very good, because it takes up current technological developments and the means of production we all have with us, mobile phones, perfectly. It's incredible the amount of power of calculation. This is perfect. But again, the problem is it's in a sense a technocratic approach. Absolutely useful. We cannot go without it, but it's absolutely not enough. And I have really to stress at this point, big data does not create group knowledge, neither collective intelligence. And even in the book, the two authors mention that even in Allende's Cybersyn project, the workers on the shop floor were not integrated. So to have a democratic planning process, we need to go beyond this digital approach, although, of course, again, it's necessary. Third one, I call decentralized cooperative federalism. What is it about? I give you the example. It happens to me, if you look at the whole debate on the change of the energy system, you have wonderful energy cooperatives, and especially a lot of them also successfully in Spain. And if you talk to Spanish comrades, colleagues, people who are engaged in energy cooperatives in Spain, you might come across the notion that real democracy is possible only on village level, in very small social surroundings. So basically, it's Tönnies theory, Gemeinschaft versus Gesellschaft, community versus society. So the positive thing of this approach undoubtedly is self-empowerment of the people. It's really working. People are coming together. People are deciding for themselves. So this has very positive effects. But negatively, the case we have to accept. I know small is beautiful, but the world is not small. Yeah. So that's the challenge. What can we do? Yeah. So it's impossible for us to go back to the small niches. So I apologize for this picture. That's all I can do. My artistic abilities are not that big. So this is what I try to make: macroeconomy, microeconomy, and the meso level. So macro, meso, micro. The macro level is very easy. Basically, that's not the big problem. But for democratic planning, the case is that if we look at the micro level, this seems to be the only level where we have this lived experience of true democracy. You can see on the bottom right, this is where we have co-determination inside the enterprises with the trade unions. We have, these are the occupied firms, recuperados, the recovered firms, very prominent in Argentina. And we have the cooperatives, like in the energy sector. So this is where really good stuff happens, but this is micro level. This is MBA level, Master of Business Administration level. This is where UTA's 6 debate on the neutralization of capital is happening, if I'm correct. But the problem is price competition between these actors, economic actors, still stay in power. So in my understanding, here comes into play now the whole debate on digital planning, which I mentioned before. If I'm correct, they try now to build the bridge between these micro enterprises and the meso level, where we have industrial policy, competition policy, structural policy, etc. So this is very good because this digitalization offers the possibility for having a bottom-up micro to meso level planning ability. The idea seems to be to get rid of the price mechanism, get rid of competition, and get towards a world of planning. And this is instituted by the collection of information, decentralized, real-time collection of information via barcodes. And we have the means with us. The problem again is, this is not social knowledge. This is anonymous, if possible, otherwise technocratic gathering of data. So, so this is not sufficient. That is a problem. So I'm much in favor of using these digital things, but this is not the answer to the problem of what should we produce. Because in my understanding, this digital approach and this planning idea is basically a status quo mechanism in a better way, not where should we go to. And this will be now my last slide. What we need would be transformative councils on regional and national level. You can call it Soviets if you want. Now, there are huge problems. First of all, we need to avoid the problems of historical corporatism. But I come to this later on. What I would like to stress here is the philosophical backgrounds, which we should then discuss, like Polanyi's tacit knowledge. Or, so the question of Polanyi versus Hayek, the question of how far can individualized knowledge be socialized? Second point is Martin Buber's process of dialogue. So how can people come together to exchange on what society wants? Other points are like Levinas, Emmanuel Levinas, The Other, or Dussell's philosophy of liberation as philosophical backgrounds for transformative councils. So now very concretely, proposals. The huge two problems as I see with these councils, and I don't have any concrete answers, I couldn't find any so far, is the question of representation. Who's in, who's out? Whose interests are counted relevant in the decision? Who should be on board of these councils? So we need at least an updated version of what was before. So we need trade unions and workers, which is now the same. We need local citizens organizations. We need environmental organizations, politicians on different levels. We need scientists. And then local banks and the development funds. And now the question is, how do we get these people? One is election, and the other one is this new idea of lottery. Yeah, like Eric Olin Wright, for example, discusses. Second one, and this is then the most needed thing, these councils need to break the investment monopoly of private capital. That means these councils must have their own investment funds. Once these investment funds have supported startup enterprises, they need to stay on board, yeah, which is possible after EU law, at least in the European Union. Okay, and then just I finish with one open question. I'm talking about changing the whole whatever structure, and I haven't talked about what is money and prices. This would be needed, obviously, to be discussed. Yeah, so far from me with my presentation. I just let me say 2-3 more sentences, and then it's done. This whole presentation comes from my work in Brussels for Transform Europe, because we work since many years on industrial policy. We started working on the question, is industrial policy possible at all inside the EU legal framework? or because EU is, as we know, neoliberal, maybe it's not possible at all. But if you look closely at the legal structure of the EU, states can do something. But the big problem for the left is this is not sufficient. This is not sufficient any longer to ask people in ministries, etc., to develop programs. So that is the background for my presentation. Okay, thanks a lot.
Great.